Good morning. It is my absolute joy to be with you this morning. I want to begin my talk. It's taken from 1 Corinthians 13, or as some of you may know it as the love chapter. One of Jesus's major teachings was to love one another. When asked how one enters into the kingdom of heaven, he would respond, "What does the law say?" And the answer would be to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your might, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Love then, as now, has multiple meanings. You can love your car, or you can love dessert. You can love romantically or platonically. You can love your pet or the flowers in your yard. It is because of this, the Apostle Paul was asked what love is. What does it look like, feel like? Is it fleeting, or does it last forever? In this writing, Paul says, "If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing." He begins his teaching by saying all these physical demonstrations in the end are just that. They're physical demonstrations. If we are doing things to look good to others or to build our spiritual ego, in the long run, it has no meaning. Love is about consciousness. Paul goes on to say, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love is patient, kind, rejoices in the right, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. What does that look like in our lives? One of the most common statements is that you'll hear people say about prayers: don't pray for patience. Paul says that love is patient. It's like, oh, don't pray for patience, because if you pray for patience, you know what's going to happen. And I say, don't pray for patience, because patience is a part of love, and love is what you are, not what you do. And so we would affirm that patience is right here, right now. It's expressing through me right now. Patience is expressing through me right now. The same with the other qualities. And I'll tell you why. Because it is not something you do or possess. It's what you are. There is one presence and one power. One presence, one power. And Jesus said that God is love. And so if we are an expression of that presence and power, we too are love. So when I was thinking about this and studying this, I began to think about, that in this, Paul talks about what love is not. It's easier to talk about what it's not than to explain what it is. Because how do you explain the essence of your being? Something, an aspect of you that hopes all things, endures all things. Paul continues, and he says, love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For our knowledge is imperfect, and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, a woman, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. So, faith, hope, and love abide. These three. But the greatest of these is love. Love never ends. Love is the perfection that is unfolding in divine order in each moment. It is that which is clearing the mirror for us to be able to see ourselves clearly as who we truly are. I recently looked up the difference between a quality and an element. A quality is a verb or an adjective. It is a descriptor of a way of expressing or of something that we do. An element, on the other hand, is the essence of something or someone. It is necessary for existence. Love is an element of our very souls, as is faith and hope. They are the essence of what we are. So faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Faith is not something we turn on and off like a water spigot. We always have faith. The question arises, where are we directing our faith? When we so often think of faith as something we do, actually, it is an elemental part of who we are. Faith is a state of consciousness, an energy field that gives power to whatever we focus our attention on. If your mind is focused on lack and worry, that's where your faith is. If your attention is focused on abundance and connection with all of life, that is where your faith is. Faith is what we call the energy of creation. You, I, are creators. What are we creating? Much of the faith we use to create is unconscious or biased by race consciousness. It's the social norm. It's what everybody thinks. What would happen if our faith moved from me to we? And we began creating a world that truly works for all. Do we have the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things that are unseen at this time? Do we believe that it is possible? Or do we believe what we hear on the news and in conversations and hear the lack, the limitation, and the separation? Do we want something, but don't really believe that it's possible? You know, it's what we call wishing. I wish I could, but I wish I could be more patient, but only if you knew my life. I wish I could be more prosperous, but if only if only I had access to more resources. I wish I could be healthier, but I'm stuck with this body. So what's the use? Why even try? Faith is the assurance that we are expressions of God in physical form. And therefore, whatever we ask for in faith, believing it to be so, will be. Whatever we ask for. Now, when I was a spiritual child, exercising my faith was about how do I get more stuff, the right stuff, in my timing. As a spiritual adult, faith becomes the essence within that opens the doorway to the everlasting joy that we are being called to express. Let me say that again. As a spiritual adult, faith becomes the essence within that opens the doorway to the everlasting joy that we are being called to express. We use faith not as a demonstration to get more for ourselves. We use it to demonstrate the kingdom of heaven here and now. The third essence within us is hope. There are two different types of hope. Hopefully wishing for something to happen in the future because you don't believe that you can have it now. And the second is essence, or an element of who we are. It is the Greek word used for hope, elpis. And elpis means joyous expectancy. Hope goes much deeper than we may have understood in the past. Life does not exist without hope. We must have the capacity to recognize and hold the desire of our hearts, even when we have not seen, touched, or heard them yet. Even when we have not seen, heard, or touched them yet. When what appears to be happening is not what we're hoping for. It's a knowing what we are putting our faith in. You cannot exercise true faith without hope working alongside. And you cannot truly step into hope without faith. Joyous expectancy is the power of focusing our attention on what others or even ourselves may think is impossible. What would happen in this world when we live with equity? All hope begins with one person. Jesus was one person who demonstrated the power of hope. His hope was in the abundant living of the kingdom of heaven. He saw the challenges of this life as temporary and passing. There's a fun saying that speaks to this with a sense of humor. And the saying is, it came to pass. Whatever it is, it did not come to stay. It came to pass. It came to give us information or to empower us to dive deeper into who we are in order to live this life of freedom. Jesus taught us ways to exercise these elements that make us humankind. He demonstrated it constantly by what he taught and by his actions, his healings, his compassion. He demonstrated what it looks like to be 100% human, 100% divine. And he is no different than we. We are not made just to create the life of our dreams. We are all part of a bigger plan. As faith, hope, and love incarnate, we are here to reveal heaven on earth. So the invitation is to ask yourself every day, what would it look like for me to share in the creation of God's vision? What would it look like for me to share in the creation of God's vision? How might I focus my faith, hope, and love to awaken myself and others to the kingdom of heaven? What thoughts would I think? What feelings would I feel? What actions would I take? Excuse me. Excuse me. Sincerely asking these questions empowers us to freely live, not our ego dream, but rather to be the catalyst for the emergence of divine consciousness, to be a catalyst for the fulfillment of God's vision here on earth. So I have an affirmation for us. And the affirmation is, I am living proof of faith, hope, and love. And so I want to invite you to affirm that with me. Together, I am living proof of God's faith, hope, and love. So let's take a few minutes. And I invite you to sit back in your chair, close your eyes. And take a couple of deep breaths. Focusing on the breath. Focusing on the physical aspect of spirit moving through you. Awakening the truth of who you are in an even more profound way than before. As you turn your focus to your heart, Focus on the power of love alive in you. You may imagine it as a pink light that emanates from your heart space and flows through your body. Much like the blood in your veins flows, touching all aspects of your body, bringing life. In this love, I invite you to focus your attention on hope. And so we're going to ask the questions that I asked earlier. What would it look like for me to share in the creation of God's vision? Well, just sit with that question for a second. What would it look like for me to share in the creation of God's vision? We allow this love to awaken the power of joyous expectation, opening the space for hope to take hold and open the door, focusing our attention and intention on how do I feel as I am engaging in this awakening. What actions would I take that would lead to the emergence of divine consciousness here and now? Entering into a place of gratitude for all that is being revealed and will be revealed in the hours and days to come. I allow the gratitude for this opportunity to gauge the level of expression. And we give thanks for answered prayer. And so it is. Amen. Blessings to you all.